This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Campus Ivy's manual packaging feature training. Today's training, we are going to cover how you can quickly update your students' information, enrollment information, units through the Campus Ivy core system. So as soon as you log on into your environment, over in the link section, you're going to see a hyperlink labeled manual packages. By clicking on this is going to pull up all the students that are housed within your environment. So all your active students, all your students withdrawn, leave of absence, graduated, canceled enrollments will be shown here on this screen. And the idea behind this screen is essentially that you'll be able to quickly update this information. Now, the page itself is a screen within a screen, so just keep that in mind. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see depending on the size of your school, you may have multiple pages here. So the order, may be a little bit different, but it does house up to 500 students on each page. Okay. Now, the module itself has similar traits as our other modules in the sense that it is in a reporting style format. You can always click and drag. If you wanted to group by student ID, you could do it that way. If you wanted to filter the screen by start date, that's a little bit easier. You could do that as well. Okay, as you see that I'm doing here, so now it's grouping everything by start date. You also have the option to sort the columns. So if I wanted to sort by alpha order here, by the last name, I just click on the name column, and you'll see that it's in alphabetical order. Okay. Now, as far as actually updating your students, it's as simple as finding your student. Remember, our system is cloud web-based, so Control F will pull up the web browser's search feature, and then you could just simply type in the name of the student that you're looking for, and that'll be a little bit easier for you to find your students within the actual module. Now, to update the student, you would simply select Edit, and you're now able to edit this current student's enrollment. Now, some at the top row here is essentially the pertinent information, their last date of attendance, their enrollment, their enrollment status, their start date, their grad date, and then their units information. Also the student ID here. Now, in the student info section here, down below, it is going to block out the social security number and the date of birth for the student. So again, when you're adding new students, you always want to make sure that the social security number is correct and the date of birth is correct, as well as the student's first and last name. Now, one thing to also keep in mind is that if the social security number was entered incorrectly, you could just simply reach out to your assigned Campus Ivy representative, and they'll are actually be able to update the social security number and the date of birth for the student manually. And that type of access will stay with Campus Ivy just for security reasons. Now, if I wanted to update this student, so this is a clock hour example. So if I wanted to update this student's earned hours, I can simply just type it in, whatever the earned hours may be, and then I select update. And as you see, the system is going to go ahead and go through its little validation, making sure it goes through these little checks and balances, making sure everything aligns for the student. And then once it is processed, it'll actually highlight it orange. And you can update as many other students on here as you would like at the same time. Now, if you are dealing with multiple pages, so more than 500 students essentially, or 500 enrollments, you would, once you move to the second page at the bottom, and then you try to go back to that first page, you will lose that highlight. So you will lose the tracking of the students that you updated. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. And now, if any of you are familiar with the file upload process with the Campus Ivy template, essentially this kind of will remove the template. You can make all your updates here directly for the student. It's a lot quicker, a little bit easier, a little bit more user-friendly as well. You can also add new students. So over here in the top right, if you click Add New Student, it'll create a row for you, and then you would type in manually all the students' information here. Okay, all the same validations would apply using this feature as well. So it will check for start date, it will check for duplicate IDs or duplicate social security numbers, so we'll go through all those validations. Now, if you wanted to see, many students may have multiple enrollments under their profile page, you would simply click View Student Packages to see those different enrollments under that student. In this case, this student only has one enrollment here, okay? So if you needed to, you'll be able to identify, all the different enrollments on this screen here, okay? And I'm just going to click on Student Packages to go back to that manual package screen. All right. And again, very user-friendly, a little bit easier than the file upload. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And that will conclude today's training. Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Campus Ivy's manual package feature training. So in this training, what I'm going to cover is how you essentially will be updating your students on a day-to-day basis. And this really would drive the NSLDS reporting, and it also will drive your disbursement process. So as soon as you log on to your environment on the workflow page, you're going to see a link section, and just below that is a link for manual packages. So you would click on that, and essentially the manual packages is going to house all your students that's within your environment, or all your active, future start, withdrawn, graduate, cancel, leave of absence students will be shown here, as well as any other packages that were assigned to them. Sometimes students will, change statuses. Maybe you had the student in here a couple months ago, they were withdrawn and now they're coming back. So it would also house all the different enrollments, but what's going to be shown here on the screen is going to be the current master enrollment. So in the manual package feature, it's very similar to our other modules. It's in a report style format. So if you wanted to filter by enrollment status, you just simply click and drag the enrollment status header to the very top. And the system is going to go ahead and filter now by enrollment status. So here's your actives. And then further on, you'll have your withdrawns and your canceled students. If you wanted to do it also by start date to make it easier, you could do that as well. Just click and drag and drop it in there on the top. And then you'll see here's a January 1st, 2018 start, January 2nd, 2018 start, January 2nd, 2019, and so on and so on. Okay. You also here have the option to sort. So if you wanted to sort the last name in alphabetical order, you just simply click on last name. Okay, and then now you'll be able to have everything in alpha order. If you wanted to remove columns, you also have that option. So if I go and highlight columns, I click on the three dotted lines. And then here, if I wanted to remove, let's just say program, I can do so and add it back in. Okay. Now, as far as updating your students' current enrollment, it's just as simple as going to any student that you're looking for. And really quick before I jump into that, our system is software or web based. So you can use Control F, which is the browser search feature. It's going to pull up the little search bar here at the top if you're using Chrome. And then you simply just type in the name that you're looking for, or the student's last name that you're looking for. And then it will highlight it, of course, just to make it a little bit easier to search for the student that you're trying to update. Okay, now if you wanted to edit a student, you would simply just select Edit over here on the right, and now you have the ability to make your changes. So if you need to update the last date of attendance, which you should be doing this on a regular basis, you can update it here. If you needed to update the anticipated grad date, you could do so here for NSLDS reporting purposes. And then your units you have here. So if you wanted to make a change to the earned units, do 100 earned, and let's just say they attempted 200. And then below that, you have the student's info. Now keep in mind the social security number, the date of birth, and the student ID and the student's first and last name are unique identifiers. So if any one of these are wrong, the ICERs may not attach to the student's profile page, and those can be changed by Campus Ivy personnel. So if you needed to change the student's first or last name, their date of birth, or the social security number, you would just reach out to your assigned Campus Ivy representative. So that type of access does stay with Campus Ivy just for security reasons. If I needed to update the student's email address, I can do so here. Now with the email address, you can change it here and it will reflect the change on the student's profile page. But if your student portal is turned on, that you changing the email address here would not update it in the back end. So this is yet another item that you would have to reach out to your assigned Campus Ivy representative, so that way they can go ahead and make that update for you in the back end. Okay, and then again, that's also for security reasons. Okay, phone number. If it's incorrect and you're trying to send out the funding estimate to the student, you could change it here. The academic info section is just a proof of graduation, withdrawn date, location, SAP, and those here is where you would make those type of updates. Okay, so let's just say this student is unmet. So I made 3 changes here: earned, attempted, and their SAP is unmet. And then I just simply select update. Okay, and the system is going through its validation, ensuring that everything checks out for the student. And then once it's updated, it is going to highlight that student in orange. Now, if I move away from this screen, let's say you're dealing with more than 500 students on a page, then if I move away from the screen, I go to page 2 or 3 here, it is going to remove the highlight. Okay. Now you can make as many changes on the same screen as you like. If I wanted to change this one here, and I select update, I have that ability to do so. And while I wait for this to update, just want to point out that this is a screen within a screen. Okay, so here's the main screen, and then here's the inside screen. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, and now here are my 2 students that I updated, highlighted in orange. If I wanted to view any other packages underneath that particular student, I simply select View Student Packages, and that brings me to a screen where it would list any other different packages for the student. Maybe there might be one that's withdrawn, one that's canceled, so you'll be able to view that historically here. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the student package screen. Okay, so that's essentially how you would update your existing students. And again, it's important to do these updates. Of course, it drives your disbursement process and also your NSLDS reporting as well. Now, I also have the ability to add a new student, and simply click Add New Student over here in the top right. And then here, I will go through the steps of adding my student. So if I add a student ID, Okay, choose my enrollment status. Typically, Future Start would be in order for a new student, and then I choose my program. So this is going to be your list of programs here that's configured within the system. Okay. Last date of attendance. If this is an enrolled student, a Future Start student, last date of attendance is a field that's not required, but as soon as you move this to an active status, a last date of attendance would be required here. And I'm going to put their start date, their anticipated graduation date, okay. Now their transfer units. If they're bringing in any transfer units, you would enter them here. If you are entering transfer units here, just keep in mind that they also need to be included in the earn. So if I'm saying that this student is transferring 24 credits in this case, I would enter it here. Or if we're dealing with a clock hour institution, if they're transferring in 200 hours, I would just enter it there. The remaining units has to deal with the academic year units. So if you're dealing with a non-term school, clock hour institution, typically an academic year is at 900 hours. If you're dealing with a term-based school, you would enter here 24 credits for some 2-semester institution or 36 for a quarter. Okay, so this is, I'll enter here 24. Earned, I entered in 24 as transferred, so I'll put 24. Schedule is going to be whatever they're scheduled for in the actual term or payment period. So clock hour would be essentially 450 if we're dealing with a 900 hour academic year, or 9 credits if we're dealing with semester-based schools. Okay, and then attempted, this is a Future Start student, so we're going to say that they don't have anything attempted, but if they did attempt anything, you would enter in that amount there of units. Okay, and then I move to the student's demographic information. Oops, sorry. Okay, social, their gender, their date of birth, whether they're a citizen or not. So keep in mind, if they are an eligible non-citizen, this answer would actually, or this entry would be an N for no. If the student is a U.S. citizen, then it'll be a yes. Their email address, phone number, the SMS opt-out. So this essentially is going to be asking, does the student want to receive electronic communication from the system? It does come in from, as if it's coming from your institution, those notifications. But here, if you put that they want to opt out of the SMS, the communication, then it would be a yes value. If they would like to receive electronic communication from the system, it will be an N value. Okay, and then the address. Okay, so this is the student's info, social, date of birth, address information, and then here's their academic information. So I'm going to say the student has a GED. A withdrawal date is only going to be required if the student is in a withdrawn status, enrollment status. So that will be required there. Choose their location, whatever campus, if you have multiple campuses. And always Future Start students that are looking, prospective students that are looking to enroll, will always have a met SAP status. So we only have 2 options here, met or unmet. So of course, met means that they're meeting their SAP. Now, the only time you want to use unmet is if they are financial aid probation. If they're on a financial aid warning, again, they're still eligible to receive Title IV funds. So you would still leave it at met. So the only time, again, you would use unmet is if they are on actual financial aid probation. I'll leave that as met. Okay, so essentially I filled in all the items that I needed to, so I'm going to go ahead and hit update. And again, the system will go through its little validation. Okay, and then you see the validation did go through, so it's highlighted in orange. Okay, So essentially, that's how you would add your new student, update existing students. Um, if you needed to add an enrollment for a particular student, for a current student, what you would do in that case is, let's say I'm going to add a new enrollment here for Joel. I would just hit edit, and then here I would change this to a future start status or enrolled. And first, before you do that, you actually would want to cancel this enrollment, right? So I'm going to cancel this enrollment, or it could be a withdrawn. Let's say withdrawn, and then I do academic info. I put my date that the student withdrew, and I update that. Okay, so here is just an example of a validation that it needs to check already exists for you. Please check if the SSN date of birth. Said okay. Okay. So now if I wanted to add the enrollment, my new enrollment, I would just simply click enroll. This is a future start status for us, and then choose the program that I'm looking to enroll the student in. And I enter in their start date. Oh, that was their last date of attendance, excuse me. Actually, I could just remove that. And their start date will go here. Their anticipated graduation date. Okay, and then let's just say that they're not transferring anything. Nothing earned, scheduled, or attempted. So the student information stays the same, right? Social, address information, unless you needed to change it there. And then, of course, the academic info also would stay the same. You would remove the withdrawn date here. You would choose the location. So let's update that as well. And then you would select update. Okay, so then I'm going to go and view submitted packages. So here you'll see that historically, okay, here's your withdrawn enrollment, and then here's your enrolled enrollment as well. Okay, and I can simply go back to student packages. And that's essentially how you would add a different enrollment for a student. Okay, so just again to recap, updating your students, you could do it directly from this screen here. Adding new students as well, you just simply click add new student. And if you're updating a student's current enrollment, just keep in mind you want to move that current enrollment to whichever status it needs to go to, whether if it was entered incorrectly and you want to cancel it, or the student is withdrawing or transferring into a different program or a longer program. You want to make sure that you update that current enrollment status first. Then once you update that, go ahead and find your student again, and then hit again edit, and then add your new program, the new enrollment status, and new start date, and all the unit criteria. The ID, the name, the social demographic information would stay the same. Okay? And that essentially concludes the training. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Thank you.